I don't know what to do with you sometimes.
Just take him as he is.
Pretty much.
There's not really much else you can do.
No.
But have the police on speed dial.
At least got other things to worry about in this neck of the woods.
True.
Well, Baggins is coming through loud and clear.
Yep. Oh, we're live. Yeah.
Is it too loud? Is that what you're saying? Or
no, he's saying loud and clear. Like we can hear you.
Well, maybe you're certainly way louder than I'm coming through. Maybe I'm too quiet.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
one or two? Check 1 or 2?
I mean, I can hear us all just fine, but I've got headphones on. But Baggins is way louder than the two of us.
Okay, I can turn him down a little bit.
And Splice, as always, is 0.1 decibel louder than all three of us put together.
And do I need to turn up my volume, or is it okay?
I probably should send an alert telling people we're live.
You should send an alert telling people we're live.
Yes. And send an alert that you're officially 40. And a day.
I think we'll just focus on the fact I'm 40.
Well, if you haven't gotten the DLC yet, get ready. It's coming.
I'm too poor for the DLC, so I think I'm going to be safe.
I unfortunately signed up for early access.
Well, no, it's the pirate. It's the pirate game, and it's like once you hit like your 30s, you get DLC like every 5 years, and once you hit 40, it's every 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've been getting those earlier than most.
You gotta get off that. You gotta get off of the EA Play. Like that's that's why I don't do subscription models.
For me, it's called diabetes.
Thankfully, I have not gotten that particular DLC yet.
I picked that up when I was 9.
I'm sorry.
Well, you always are an early adopter.
This is true. However, this is one I didn't sign up for. Are people born diabetic, or is diabetes thrust upon them?
I mean, like, either? Both?
Both is bad.
I mean, like, but, like, realistically, like, I think it's, like, both. Like, people can be born, like, pre-diabetic or whatever, and then you can, if you overdo it, like, become diabetic. Like, there are ways, like...
That's the pay-to-win model.
Who wins at diabetes?
Baggins is kicking everyone's butt. He's a pro.
I mean, maybe the insulin producers.
I was going to say the pharmaceutical companies. Trust me.
Yeah, like I found out about, like I learned about it because I had a coworker who had like type 1 diabetes, which is
I have the kind I have.
Is it 1 or 2? Because like 2 is the more common one. 1
or 2
is really scary.
1 is the one I've had since I was 9. It's also known as juvenile diabetes.
Okay.
It's because it's less mature than type 2 diabetes.
I was tempted to say it.
No,
my understanding of it is that that's serious business diabetes.
It is. It's why I have kidney issues and vision issues and breathing issues and all sorts of other
So
stuff.
can I take it to say that you are with me on the put my brain in a brain box and just put me in a cybernetic body? When that
He's
becomes
already in a
available?
cybernetic body, and it's really cool.
A little bit.
He's a cyborg.
Okay, you've got to expand on that. Like what?
No,
I don't think I do.
We can stop there.
Oh, we're pulling the Reverend Book here. Okay.
No, I have a CGM that's attached to me, so
I mean, those are really freaking cool.
they really are. But
It makes him a cyborg.
Cyborg android.
cyborg.
Okay.
Androids
Cyborg
are
is
androids are all machine.
Yeah. Androids are all machine, but they replicate human behavior. So that's Splice and Cyborg.
Data's an android.
Right. Splice is kind of an android.
Nah. He's just a
I
basement
mean, like,
dweller. He doesn't
if
even
somebody
get
was
us.
if somebody was like, he's an android, everyone would go like, yeah, probably.
Apparently, Breakfast intends to just listen and say quips that only I can hear rather than join in the conversation.
Oh, we miss you, Breakfast. I made you for dinner the other night.
It's go time anyway, so let me get this started.
I have 3 minutes past go time.
I've got 2 minutes to go, bots.
Okay, well, I said it's go time, so if everyone could be quiet.
You got to get 100% damage, right, for go time?
I don't know what I expected in 2024, but when I got my year in review from a little indie thing called Steam, I definitely didn't expect my number one game by a country mile to be some roguelike card game called Balatro. And I believe it's all Mithril Zenith's fault. I think he's the one who started it. And it says 30% of my total playtime is Balatro. This game is stupid, addicting, and I love it. This is episode 40 of I Think We Overleveled. We're just going to talk about the year that was of our gaming for 2024. How's it going?
Not on fire.
What percent was Balatro?
30-1%.
That's cute.
That's almost one third of all my gameplay was one game.
41% of mine was one game.
The most surprising thing that I had wasn't even a game that I had a large percentage of. It was a game that came out in the last month, and I was just shocked at how large the percentage was that I had for that one that it got in that 1 month of availability.
Which was
Marvel Rivals. And it came out at the beginning of December, so it's been out for maybe a month and a couple of days. And it was 10% of my yearly play.
Nice.
I have to say it does have all the polish I'm looking for. Unfortunately, when I went to play it a couple days ago, when I downloaded it, something corrupted, and so I said, I'll wait.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not you that corrupted? But, I mean, it's pretty much, for those of you who have not played it, it's pretty much Overwatch, but with Marvel characters. So much so that, as you see, Black Widow is on the screen as I'm watching our feed at the moment. It'll probably be on the feed in a couple of moments. The former president of Blizzard, decided that he was going to get cute in social media and talked about how Black Widow, a comic character that was made in the 1940s, was basically just a created clone of Widowmaker and got ratioed and had to send his account private because the mocking would never end. But that being said,
as it should.
Absolutely. It is a very fun game. Like, it's just starting out, so there's a lot of repetition in it, and I'm not a fan of the competitive. I haven't had a good experience with the competitive stuff, but the quick pickup matches, and I play with my fantastic partner, Karina J. We've added it to our evening
What do you mostly
stuff
play?
that we do. I end up playing, depending on what we're doing. If I'm healing, I'm Mantis or Jeff. If I'm going DPS, I am usually Scarlet Witch. And if I'm a tank, I'm Doctor Strange.
You said Mantis or Jeff?
Yes, Jeff the Landshark, who you're looking at right now, fortuitously.
That
is a
not
character.
familiar with Jeff the Land Shark.
No one is. He's a very, very new character.
He's a very niche character.
So this would be like if Howard the Duck was a character.
Kind of, yeah.
Like even more niche than that.
I also hadn't heard of Luna Snow, so
niche.
She's another one. She's like think Dazzler but Korean. Yeah, really, that's
Tony Stark
Dazzler.
calls her K-pop. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, because she's a K-pop star in continuity. Yeah, I learned some of the lore while I was there. But I mean, like, it's classic Overwatch when it was fun, 6-on-6. There's convoy, there's domination. Yeah, it's not that 5-on-5 stuff.
Gosh, the 5-on-5 is just awful.
And
Well, I think its biggest feature is the destructible terrain.
oh god, like you can just go through that terrain and like it'll come back on some maps, but like you can just really just smash some stuff. I've had literally like, okay, I'm gonna go to the water point, and they collapse it. And it's like, okay, now I've got to spend the next 10 seconds running around to find a new entry point into the waypoint so that I can try and take down everyone.
Did I just see that Penny Parker is one of the characters?
Yes,
Yes.
it uses a
Wow.
multiversal storytelling, so they can.
Well,
pull
for a
anyone.
game like this, that makes sense.
And Psylocke looks a bit more ninja than I remember.
She does, and she is.
I mean,
So,
look, they've
like,
stylized everyone. The thing that I find
Exactly.
impressive is how they've managed to keep the comic book feel of the characters in
Yep,
the
that's
3D
one of the
models.
Yeah, I like that, and I like the fact that it's not based on their movie appearances.
I mean, you can buy their movie appearances if you would like.
Well, of course,
isn't-
because
that
everything
is
is
an option.
purchasable.
Oh, of course.
Well, that's
But, like-
that is also the big difference. This is free to play, so they're going fully with the we're gonna have cool
Yeah, you have
skins model.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can buy a battle pass that'll get you
They're-
some cool stuff and you can buy stuff and you can buy currency and you can transfer it over. But like, there's also like, so like if you're an Overwatch player, there's probably a character that plays a lot like you do. And like, I dropped off of Overwatch a couple of years ago, so I'm not. But like,
Oh, yeah.
if you're a Widowmaker player, then Black Widow's the one for you, and she's got some cool melee that she can get in on that as well. If you're Hanzo main, Hawkeye is the most annoying person that ever lived. Everyone hates Iron Fist because he is just the worst. Wolverine is another one that everyone hates. Venom, if you know how to play him, can really just ruin your day, especially if they've got a good healer. Groot is annoying because he can drop a whole bunch of shields, like you're seeing on the screen right now, and block your way. And it's even worse when he's on your team and he's blocking your line slates as a healer.
Okay.
Yeah, but like it's like right now what you're seeing is a mode that I've played a little bit of, but I haven't really done a whole lot of. There's like a 6-on-6, and it's just get the most kills, and it's just battle royal, get the most kills for your team and collect the most chrono spheres or whatever it is. But yeah, there is a whole lot of synergy across it, but there's also like other little things which they build upon, like I said, Black Widow is like Widowmaker for the most part, but they've given her a few extra abilities. So while she plays like Widowmaker, it's been updated a little bit, and she plays a little bit different. She's got some extra stuff that makes the package feel a little bit different from what I'm told. I am a bad sniper.
Well, the other big thing, just watching the gameplay that I have, is the fact that so many characters are very up close spaced. This is a game where people get in each other's faces a lot more than Overwatch.
Oh yeah,
But-
and you have to be careful if you're playing a flying character because there's a few of those flying characters. Storm is dedicated flying. You do not touch the ground with Storm. Same thing. Same thing with Iron Man. He is in the air all the time. And while that seems like that can be an advantage, if you get some people who know what they're doing, you're a sitting duck. And yeah, exactly. Like a lot of it is very melee in your face. Scarlet Witch, who I main, is somebody who is relatively easy. I can just sit very close to things, hold down the power button, and her energy drain just saps the life around and out of the closest person to you. But that gets somebody's attention real quick, and you have to be close enough to do it. So you tend to get, seen and ganged up on real quickly. And the other thing is that there's certain team up abilities as well that go in there. Like, for example, Hawkeye has this ability where his ultimate is that he can see everyone, all of his enemies, outlines and all, and he can also, they will trace along his screen, and he doesn't have to shoot you. He can just shoot any of the traces of you whatsoever. And he can share that with Black Widow if she's on the team, especially the Hunter vision where she can see basically every enemy on the screen, no matter, even through walls. There's one thing where Venom, if Venom's on a team with like Penny Parker and or Spider-Man, Penny Parker or Spider-Man get like a little Venom symbiote like AoE that is like a little bit on a long recharge, but like you can sit there and like if you get a lot of people in close quarters, you hit it right there and it's going to do a little bit of damage on there.
The insane one I saw was Adam Warlock with the Guardians, and they just get a
Adam
free
Warlock.
respawn.
Yeah, Adam Warlock, Mantis, who and Star-Lord, which Karina will do Adam Warlock and I'll do Mantis, and we become the most annoying healing team that ever lived because we each get a free respawn that's also on a timer that we can just like float over around a corner, respawn, and then come back around rather than have to go to the spawn point and come all the way back. And Adam Warlock's ultimate is hey, I'm going to get everyone that died here in the last so many seconds and just res them right here on top. So
so the old Mercy res.
yeah, sure. I'll
Oh
I
man,
guess
the
they
old
might.
Mercy Res.
I mean, it's bonkers. Like you'll get some of these things where you just get paired against a team that is way out of your weight class, and they just avalanche you, and just nothing's gonna happen. You're just like, well, the
That's
best we
just
can do is just
Overwatch.
try to do our best. Yeah,
In
and then
TF2. That's just what
sometimes-
team-based shooters are.
Right, and then sometimes you're going to be the one. It's like, oh man, do these guys know what to do here? And then sometimes it's like, oh my god, are we going to get this through? This has just turned into a brawl. Everyone's just killing everyone. It is a lot of fun. It's the same fun I can remember having at the beginning of Overwatch before Overwatch got to be a little much. And Blizzard became the enemy of fun.
Yeah, that's the bigger
and-
thing. Executive
and
metal
like
to death.
Exactly. And like I said, this is very clearly a game that was made for that crowd, and they went, okay, what is everything that they've done wrong? Let's not do that. Let's do something else. Let's do what they want us to do. And I mean, there's like something like 33 characters that you can pick from. So like there was a wide base of characters. I don't know how many there are in Overwatch.
Oh, there's
right
tons
now.
now.
Yeah.
But like, this started with like a bunch of stuff, and like this video which I linked here that we're looking for, it's basically you get to see the gameplay of all of them. It's about an hour long, and you can basically see how all 33 characters work. Yeah, like you're gonna see right now. Like one of the things with Hulk is that you don't select him as Hulk, you select him as Bruce Banner, and he immediately starts with his ultimate, which is turning into the Hulk, and then he can build a Hulk to an ultimate, which is be a bigger Hulk, and if you kill the Hulk, then he just turns back into Bruce Banner, who can run around and wait until his ultimate refreshes to turn back into the Hulk, unless you kill him.
He's sort of like a melee diva.
Yeah. Well, Penny Parker is diva.
Yeah. Okay.
Quite literally.
No, Diva's Korean. Penny Parker's Japanese.
But
Big difference.
You get it. And like I said, Iron Fist is basically melee Bastion.
Punisher's Soldier 76 and Bastion put together.
See, you could go that way, or you could go Winter Soldier, because and you've got a lot of just like shooters. And I think when we were talking, I told you it's like, oh yeah, my tank is Doctor Strange, and you were like, huh, that's not where I would have put him.
Yeah,
And fair enough, but like, I can do some damage with Doctor Strange, and if you get a good enough team, I can get that portal in there, and we can flank them from the back if we're having a bad time. But to get back to the point, like, this game came out, maybe a couple of days shy of a month ago, and it is a full 10% of the time I've spent playing games this year.
Well, on that note, there's one game that is 41% of the games that I've played this year, and I haven't played it since September.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally walked in on your... Go right ahead. Sorry.
So, yeah, that was Final Fantasy XIV, which we've talked about plenty on this show. So we don't really need to get into it that much, but I played the crap out of that game.
Oh, and I was going to guess Power Wash Simulator.
No, that's up there. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Power Wash Simulator is 15% of my gameplay.
But to Final Fantasy 14, because I'm one of I've found it very hard to get on the MMO train.
Oh no, and that's totally understandable. I only got on the MMO train because Splice bullied me into it back when we were first rooming together.
But I'm curious to know, what about this game keeps you playing it? Because it's been
like I said, I haven't played it since September.
But still, you've played quite a bit of it.
I did.
Enough to be 41%. That's saying something.
Well, for a while it was, like it was a combination of just enjoying the game and then also a social aspect, because I did and still do have a good free company, which is the guilds in FF14. A lot of it is just, there is so much stuff that you can do that's just pure basic grinding. And I like having a game that I can do that kind of stuff on while I'm watching videos or movies or whatever. And so it was just a really great outlet for that. Like there are, like you can go around building, like I wanted to level all of the classes up to max level. I wanted to level all of the crafters up to max level, all that stuff. And while I was doing it, I had people I could chat with, and then I could just watch a movie on the other screen.
No, fair enough. Totally.
And then a lot, so much of it is references to other Final Fantasy games, which I've been a fan of since I was
really?
like
I don't think it's ever come up.
Hush you. And and to the point where it actually brought me back to the series. I had kind of walked away from it for a while, and now I've been buying the newer ones and downloading them again. And like the ones that I never played, I'm wanting to play now.
And I mean, Splice also, like, he's brought it up on numerous occasions. Like, you should pay attention more as a friend.
Dang it! I know.
Really, I don't know that it says you're a bad friend. I think it just speaks of you as a bad person all around.
Oh, geez.
I wasn't going to go that far, but I mean, like,
now that we're here,
you know him a little better than I do. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut into your.
Oh, no worries at all. No.
But Power Wash which is another one I'm kind of curious about.
Also Squaresoft or Square Enix.
Square, you have such great games, but such bad leadership.
No, I'm actually, as we speak, I'm actively playing Power Wash Simulator. It's just, it's a great mindless game that's very zen, and like any sort of OCD, it scratches that itch because you're taking these filthy things and making them clean. And it has like a million different DLCs that you can get that are like, they come out every few months and they're like $5 for a DLC.
Quite a few are free.
There's quite a few. I mean, not a ton of free actually.
Well, like Midgar's free, and Midgar's awesome.
No, Midgar's not free.
It is on the PlayStation.
Huh? Well, it wasn't on PC.
Yeah,
so that's a special deal.
And maybe it is free now. It wasn't when I got it because I got it when it first came out. But there's tons of them, and that's the thing is, like, you have the main game, and there's actually an oddly engaging background storyline that's going on that you have to pay attention to. It's just told through messages and stuff. But then after you get through that, there's also tons of DLC tied to various IPs, from Alice in Wonderland to Final Fantasy to Warhammer to Shrek. Like all sorts of SpongeBob SquarePants. There's one.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. And just
neither does SpongeBob SquarePants in general. If you
no, but it's just like you're power washing. You're under the water already.
Yeah.
Just repeat to yourself. It's just a show. And really
I only
relax.
got the one that were based off of Square Enix games, which is honestly the only ones I was interested in.
Well, maybe those are the free ones, is the Square Enix based ones.
Yeah. Because
because again, it's Square.
If I wanted Shrek or the others, but yeah, the Square Enix ones were free.
It may have been free. I don't remember it being free. Back to the Future. That was a fun one too.
Oh yeah, I'd have to pay for that one. That one.
But again, they're relatively affordable. It's like just a few bucks per.
One of my coworkers and my Strahd GM also. It's one of his chicken soup games, so. That's why I was just like, again, curious. Like, oh, here's a game that,
chicken soup games.
Soothing. Well, chicken soup games and chicken soup shows are kind of a rating of things.
Calming.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever had just a
okay? Now you say
day,
like comfort food.
And yeah, exactly. Or bad day, or you're sick and you're just not feeling well, or you're just exhausted for whatever reason emotionally.
No, Splice has never had chicken soup when he's sick.
No, it's never happened.
Fair enough. But, it's one of these things where a show like Leverage for me, or a game that
you just Leverage, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. That is, I've seen that at least 50 times.
Mine's Frasier.
Totally fair. But it's something that you play for comfort.
White Collar.
They're bringing back White Collar.
I'm leery whenever they bring back something.
I don't want them to make new stuff and make good new stuff.
No, you will take the rehashes of the original stuff that was good in the 90s because they're trying to placate us so that we don't get too angry at them.
I'm angry at them because they're giving us rehashes of stuff from the 90s.
Yes, but don't tell them
Welcome
that
to the
because it
catch-22.
hurts their feelings.
Some people's children.
I was kind of disappointed with the Leverage comeback. Honestly, it wasn't
really.
I
enjoyed it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was better than the original run.
They got rid of Hardison, which is the best character in the whole show.
Speaking of favorite shows
with
with
one of the main characters, he was replaced with someone far lamer.
He had other obligation. I'm sorry, Baggins.
No worries.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of favorite shows with bad comebacks, Frasier is just it makes me so sad.
Was it that bad?
It was worse than that bad.
Well,
at least we're going to get the Suits remake soon.
I was thinking about Frasier just today, actually, because, I was watching Burn Notice, and the episode with Martin.
Don't say anything. No, stop, because I'm trying to get him to watch it.
Yeah, I am eventually planning on watching Burn Notice.
Well, I was just saying the actor showed up in the episode I watched.
Okay.
Which
Burn Notice, by the way,
anything.
Absolutely worth the watch. It is a great show. Jeffrey Donovan is not given enough credit for how much he does in that show.
That was a weird era for what was
he
it?
He got to do so many roles because he act in the show, so he really got to show his full breadth of acting ability because he'd play roles within the show. So it's it was pretty good.
Now, what network was it? Was it USA or was it
USA that had it was just
they had a weird a brief few years
procedural television.
Because that one and Monk were kind of the
Monk.
ones.
I think weren't they also Suits?
Yeah, they were. It was Burn Notice,
Psych,
Monk, Psych, Suits, The Dead Zone, which predated them a little bit.
Weren't they also White Collar as well?
White Collar as well. A couple of others which I'm just missing at the moment. But they did all of these. Basically, it was in an episode of Cracked where they were trying to figure out what type of show to write to get famous, and USA is just like some kind of quirky specialist with a twist. Is basically it. So the protagonist of every show in USA is a quirky show with a twist, like Dead Zone. It's like he talks to dead people.
White Collar was Matt Bomer, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
I know him from Chuck.
Yep.
Yes.
Who was he in Chuck?
He was
Bryce Larkin.
Bryce Larkin, the one who sent him the Intersect.
Gotcha. All right, well, back to the topic on
Negative
hand.
Man.
Yeah.
Yes, back to the topic on hand. Lunaside, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I'm currently playing as we talk the game that I have spent 62% of my Steam time in, actually. So this one's definitely the winner as far as time goes, which is, of course, Satisfactory.
Ah, yes.
And let me pull up the gameplay.
You've mentioned this one a time or two.
Yeah,
never come up.
Satisfactory's kind of my my obsession. And what it is it went out of early access and had its 1.0 full release this year. And so all of us that have already dumped, hundreds and hundreds and if not thousands of hours into it, all restarted
because you have a new game
from scratch. And proceeded to then dump hundreds of hours into our new save file to try and get back to where we were. And
I've done that with Stardew Valley.
It makes perfect sense because you essentially have a brand new game. It
basically is a whole brand new game because they added, new features in a storyline that wasn't there before, and the GLaDOS-like AI is even more GLaDOS-like than before, with snarky and occasionally, making comments that sounds like she wants to replace humanity, as all good AIs do.
Only the best.
I mean, that's totally fair. I can get it.
And but they added some really cool features, such as the alien technology that lets you basically have a near, I wouldn't call it infinite storage, but they're storage containers that can teleport directly to you as you need them. So as long as it's put in this cloud storage, is what they called it, you can start building with it. So while you're building, as long as you're feeding stuff into the new teleportation storage containers, you can keep building, which is just really, really nice because it prevented a lot of the, tracking back and forth to collect supplies to keep building your factory. But it basically was a brand new game, even though I kind of know, how to play it already. But to have a story mode, so much more dialogue, so much more stuff to do, so many cool new features that they added that they, purposely were leaving out for the final release. Finally, uses of all the artifacts you find, ways to double your output with the same number of inputs or massively increase your power. They also expanded the fuel generators to where it's not just you could go to fuel, but then you can upgrade it to rocket fuel, as not just turbo fuel. And doing that, I haven't even bothered in this new save file to do nuclear power because just fully enriched fuel, so much power am I generating. So, but they also finally give you a use of having oodles and oodles of power because the final tier of manufacturing they added just takes gobs and gobs and gobs of power. So, and that's now the stage I'm at. Is I did catch up.
Is that the standard unit of power in the Factorio
the
universe?
gob?
Gob. It's gob is 1.21 gigawatts is one gob.
Makes sense.
That's as much as energy as in a bolt of lightning.
Yeah.
A bolt of lightning.
And how much time? What was the percentage of this for you,
62%.
And what was yours, Baggins?
41%.
And Splice, what was yours?
31. I'm apparently more varied a gamer than I thought.
I'm surprised. I'm lower than all of you for the one that I'm that I'm actually most.
I think I have probably the the highest quantity of games, but yeah, but as far as dumping time into this particular one, yeah, Satisfactory. I guess I still.
Now, to be fair, how many sessions do you have played in Satisfactory?
Wow. That's a good question.
It should be on your year in review if this is your number one game.
Let me.
Yeah, it's right next to your
can check.
playtime. Because I'm looking at my number one right now. Too, so I was just curious.
154 sessions played.
Okay, that's nothing because I've got 989 sessions played for FF14.
Holy crap! Okay, wow.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
Man.
I am way I am way under that.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing
my
is,
9% is Factorio with 29 sessions played, which there is a new Factorio, but I haven't actually bought it yet because the expansion for Factorio, just because I still haven't finished Satisfactory because I know the Satisfactory 1.0 release kind of lined up with the Factorio expansion, and well, since one I don't have to pay money for to keep playing, I'm gonna wait on the other. But
Yep, 100%.
yeah, but oh goodness, good year for automation games to have expansion for Factorio and the full release of Satisfactory. Amazing stuff, man. I love this game so much.
Well, I fear that my number one this year is going to be a game that's going to be discarded in the next month or so.
Oh dear.
Because my number one at 29% with 81 sessions played was Sid Meier's Civilization 6.
Why will it be discarded? Because
Sid Meier's Civilization is coming out in February.
Yeah, that doesn't have to stop you from playing it.
Well,
I still say 4 is my favorite.
Civ 7 would have to be pretty bad for it that, but this is another one of these. This is a game that I play with Karina. This is a weekend game that we play, which will just turn on Murder, She Wrote, and we'll fire up Civilization, and that's what we do with our weekend.
You know what? I support this.
Exactly. And I've gotten to see how Bat Guano insane Murder, She Wrote is, which is and I'm not going to get us off on another TV show tangent, but, we've played a lot of variations of the game. And we have for years. It is also by far and above the thing that I've put in my Steam library. I've put the most hours in over the years, with something like 800 and something hours.
That's a lot
So
of
like
hours.
it's pretty serious. Like I've gotten my money out of this game. But yeah. But like yeah, mine's 29. That's 29% of my gameplay. Like I was surprised to see how few games took up the most time. I was surprised at some of them, but I was not surprised to know that was the top one, because it's a game that just has gotten usage out of us all the time. And,
Is it
those are the best
using
investments.
you, or are you using it?
Well, you've seen the way I've played the game. I've shared screen images of the things that I do. You remember the screen image where I sat there and I went through a tear and I renamed everyone's cities, like, got your city, got this one too, hop aboard, the pain train,
I'll be
choo-choo.
honest, I forgot. And now that you're mentioning it, yes, that definitely did occur.
That picture is saved on my desktop, and I will send it into the chat for everyone else to see. No one else has to see it. Like, if you really want it, you can find me at Fated Saint and ask me for it, and I'll post it there or something. But yeah, like, it's just good fun. It's a lazy game, which I can do other things. Like, I can get up and it's like, all right, I'm going to go, get lunch going. So, go to the back, put something on, come back, do my turn, go back to the back, do some stuff, come back, do my turn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, like it's a chicken soup game. It's a game that if I don't feel like, if I want to turn my brain off, but I want to do something interactive and social with my partner, do that. And that is the picture that I was referencing.
I've just never renamed a city in Civ.
Yeah, I didn't even know I could do it.
That's not true. I did it one time to Isabella in Civ 4 because she was being annoying, and so I don't
I
know.
mean, that's what happened with this, and this person was being so annoying that this is the way, and you can see the path that I took to take over everything.
Though, if I remember correctly, even in Civ 2, you could make your own civilization and name your cities yourself and name your leader. Is that something that they took away?
No, I've just never done it.
These are cities that that were already established that I took over and renamed.
Ah, okay.
Because like this person aggravated me to sin, and so they declared war on me. It's like, all right, well, I've got the most money, so I'm just going to buy an army now, and I got your city. I got this one too. Get ready to hop aboard the pain train, choo choo. And I took them out.
What a stable and interesting person.
Would you rather me take it out in the game or take it out in real life?
I mean, those don't have to be either option.
I mean, they should absolutely be either option. But that was my number one. And like I said, I threw out there the thing that surprised me the most that was on my list. What about you guys? What was the thing that surprised you the most? I think, Splice, you said that Balatro surprised you, but was it the thing?
It was more just that it was that much, but no, the thing that surprised me the most, because I know it's not a sign of how much I played it, but how much I must have accidentally left it running in the background, was Civ 4 actually.
Amazing. Civilizations are good for that.
I knew it would be up there because while I was training for work, because those who don't know, I got a new old job, and so I kind of knew most of the job, yet I still had to go through 4 weeks of training that was mostly at home. And so if we were covering something that didn't engage me at all, I would just have Civ on in the background.
I am a big proponent of fidget games, which, it's like the fidget device that you use that they help with productivity. That just something that you can just focus on for a second, get your mind off of whatever you're doing, and then back to it. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what Power Wash Simulator is for me. Like I said, I'm playing it right now, and it's because it's just something to keep me from twitching in my seat.
No, totally, 100%. That's yeah. But was there anything on your list that surprised you?
Me?
Yes.
The one that surprised me, like it didn't surprise me now. It surprised me when I played it. And I don't know why it surprised me other than I had played it before and kind of bounced off it. But then I decided I wanted to pick it up and give it a try again. And that was the Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game. I was not expecting to love that game as much as I did.
Okay.
Like when I played it, I was just like, okay, I want to go on I'm blanking on his name. Who's the guy who did Seven Samurai? Kurosawa. I wanted to go on a huge Kurosawa kick. And so what I ended up doing actually after I played Ghost of Tsushima was I watched Seven Samurai, and then I watched Magnificent Seven, and then I watched the new Magnificent Seven. And
nice. What about Yojimbo? Did you miss that one?
I haven't. I still have so much Kurosawa that I need to go in and just catch up on. But
I don't think it's Kurosawa, but Lone Wolf and Cub.
Not for sure. Anyway, but Ghost of Tsushima is just a love letter to Kurosawa. It's beautifully done. It even has a Kurosawa mode where the whole game is put into black and white. It has the like tracking lines on it, and it's entirely in Japanese with subtitles. But it's just such a well done game. You have all these duels where you feel like the lone wandering samurais. The way that the Arkham games make you feel like Batman, this makes you feel like the samurai.
Okay.
Well, and it even has like the moments before a fight where it like displays the text cinematically as a lead in.
Well, like what'll happen is like you'll be walking up to a duel, and then you slowly pull out your sheathed katana and then flick the locking mechanism out with your thumb so it pops out. I'm just like, okay, this is just cool.
There's something to be said for when a studio just understands what is the player fantasy we're trying to cater
Who's
to
our
here.
audience? Who's our audience, and how can we make them happy?
Exactly. What
If we make them happy, they'll give us money, probably.
What need are we filling right now, and how can we fill it better?
Exactly. Yes. That's good. Good.
Instead
What
of
about you, Lemmy
how
Star?
do we get the customer to play the way we want them to play?
Exactly.
Because play the way you want it to play is one thing, but like, how do we give the customer what they want so that they keep playing our game and giving us money?
Right. Rather than saying, how do we get the customer to do what we want them to do?
Yeah.
The customer
Overwatch
plays
2.
wrong.
Paving the ley lines, so they say.
I've never heard that phrase.
It's a construction term where it's like, where should I put this sidewalk to go to this building? Like, well, you see where the grass is already worn out from people walking? There. That's where you put it. Not where you want to put it, where people are already walking. Pave the ley lines.
Yep.
Oh.
Totally makes sense.
Someone asked
was
a
there
question.
anything that surprised you?
That's right.
On yours?
Yeah. Quite a few. Yeah, out of nowhere, I decided to play, largely just because I was on my Switch, and I pull up the, what was it, the classics, the Nintendo Switch Online classics,
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled up Game Boy, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll play a little bit of this Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy. And I ended up playing the whole thing in one sitting.
Nice.
Man,
Which,
I remember the Mega Man games on the Game Boy being tedious.
I don't know. I just whipped through it, man. It was actually kind of fun, but man, it is hard on that. Well, I mean, I was playing it on a 50-inch screen TV, which is really funny playing a Game Boy game.
It's still a
On
4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah, 4:3 aspect ratio. That's, what, 120 pixels by I don't know, something made for like a 2-inch screen. But no,
It's not ideal.
Not ideal.
No,
but,
not ideal at all.
because you could see so very little, and there is a little bit of tedium in there. But I mean, there's also the ability to use save states, which I did in the Wily levels a little bit. But no, it was fun. It was just out of nowhere, decided to play it. Play super old Game Boy game.
And then just got very into it.
Yeah, just got into it and beat the whole thing in one sitting.
Yeah, that is surprising.
I also did it with Kirby's Dream Land because, I love Kirby's Dream Land. And that's a pretty short game, and I know how short that game is. So I'm like, yeah, I'll whip through this too, because that takes me less than an hour to do.
Kirby's Dream Land is such an interesting play now, just going back, because so many of the staples of Kirby weren't implemented yet.
Oh yeah, like the whole
copying abilities. Like that's Kirby's shtick at this point, but it wasn't there in the first game.
Yep, in the first game, all he could do was just inhale and spit them back out. Which is funny. I just before while prepping for this, while trying to find this video, I ended up finding an old commercial for the original Kirby, which was pretty weird actually, because they're introducing Kirby, no one knows who he is, and they compare him to some 90s cartoon action hero to compare and contrast. So it's like this super buff guy with a some fully automatic weapon strapped to his back who looks like Rambo, and it's like,
I remember this commercial.
And he's just like, oh, this guy has all of this, and well, in that regards, Kirby's losing to him, except all Kirby has is an appetite, and then Kirby just inhales and eats him whole, and all the comments are like, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, back in the day where instead of just being the beloved cute character, he ate the action hero. He ate Rambo.
He apparently
But-
had it coming.
Yeah.
To be fair, Rambo was asking for it.
But no, I actually love this Kirby game. I remember it because I usually didn't get a present for Easter, but in my Easter basket one year was Kirby's Dream Land, and I played it and I absolutely loved the game, and then when they made Kirby cut even cooler Kirby Superstars, I didn't have the NES Kirby.
You're cutting in and out, Lunasar.
I did play for Star Play, but
Lunasar, you're cutting in and out.
the Game Boy Switch open too.
Yeah, he can't hear me. Can you guys hear me?
What?
You're cutting in and out.
Oh yeah, yourself.
You're cutting it.
Hello?
You're cutting in and out a little bit too, Splice.
Okay, that's a problem.
Yeah, I was hearing that too. I heard both of you cutting in and out.
Oh, that's
I hear
that's
you
great.
just fine, however, Bill.
Huzzah.
Doesn't make any sense. We're on
Am
the
I
same
still cutting
connection.
in and out?
Nope. I can hear you just fine now.
All right. Well, Kirby's dancing to that. That's great. All right. I also would like to point out something that was a very interesting gameplay over the year. That was Hades 2, because it's still in early access.
That was
Yeah,
one
that's
that I put on there too.
See, I haven't played it yet because I wanted to wait for it to be out of early access.
Yeah, it was some. I found it very interesting just to. I haven't too often gone into the early access rabbit hole. I don't know what else to call it, but it's been very interesting watching them make their changes as they do it, because
Yeah.
it's like, for example, one of my favorites is in one of the gameplay modes. Essentially, it's like you get past the second stage and it's like, and then a thing happened and you're back here now because we haven't made this part yet.
Yep.
But you can assume whatever you did, it was amazing.
Or we've made this part, but it's a part of a storyline we don't want to reveal yet.
Yeah.
And then there's also placeholders for like some characters who they don't have art for yet, or maybe they're
Yeah.
refining the art, or maybe they just don't want to tell you.
Well,
Narcissist.
Yeah, I think my favorite is when they have their concept art and it's just super rough and blocky.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's
I
been.
will
I mean, plus, just this is a studio that is just second to none in terms of execution on their games. Yeah,
Supergiant has never let me down. That's honestly that, and Splice's approval of the game, which is why I did early access for it. Because Transistor is one of my favorite games. Hades was excellent. I was very late to that train, and so I didn't want to be late to this train. But I let Splice play it first before I committed.
I still need to play Bastion and Transistor.
I've never played a game that just feels so responsive.
Responsive,
the
it
Hades
feels
CDs.
crisp. And then on top of all of that, like if you played Hades 1, this feels like Hades 1's like, all right, but now you get to really see what we can do because we know you like this now. We know we have an audience, so we can just go all in. And not giving anything away, but like it feels like a proper sequel, you know?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Like it's like
well,
Hades, bigger,
and there's
better
there's
now.
a mystery component, and also just like, hey, we know that you know how this works. And here's some completely different gods we're going to give you new powers with, so we're not just rehashing the old ones.
We're going to give you some of the old ones too, but we're going to rework how some of them work, and then
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and then
rework some
just
of
the
their
fact that
arts.
they go with completely different weapons, and so the fact that the main character, she's a witch, and
Yep.
so she has magic powers that do things different, and so it's one of those things. And the other thing I like about it, because there's so many times in a sequel they struggle with this, they don't diminish Zagreus by making Melanoe better. Like it's
That's
just
awesome.
no, she's just different. She's a completely different character. And it's like, wait, why can she do this thing he can't? And it's like, well, she's a witch. And as such, she's solving problems the way like a traditional witch would, with incantations and spells, and you know,
she was brought up with different in a different environment as well, and so like, you know, different skill set.
Yeah, and so
She's the sorcerer, you're the rogue.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, I'm liking that. Like right now, they're showing off her staff power, which you know
Right.
is definitely trying to flavor into the witch thing. So you're mostly casting and putting down runed circles and stuff. But she also does have like the sewing needle. I mean, it's not really but it's what the gameplay style is. And it's like, oh, so it's
she
similar
has a great
to
big skull bowling ball, which she throws around.
That one is a bizarre one, and I still haven't figured out quite how to play that one right. But
you just have to channel your inner Janine Garofalo and just go for it.
Baby bowler. Oh gosh.
I'm glad somebody got that.
I knew I was supposed to get that reference, but I couldn't figure out why. And now that brought that, yeah, okay. But no, it's just it's one of those things where I have been very impressed. I can't wait for the full release.
Well, speaking of,
Okay.
oh,
Go ahead. You go.
I was going to say, speaking of early access, there was one that I picked up that's in early access that I played a lot and then realized, okay, at this point I want to stop playing, and that's Fields of Mystria. This is not one that I was expecting to hit me as hard as it did, but
what is it?
Like it's it's a Stardew Valley style game. What'd you say?
I did just pick it up with the winter sale.
Yeah. So it's one that I'd looked at a few times, just thought, okay, this looks fun. It's clearly a Stardew Valley clone, and yes, I know that Stardew Valley is a Harvest Moon clone, but I'm just saying, like, this one is clearly a Stardew Valley clone. Like, it takes a lot from Stardew Valley specifically, and it just, I was utterly charmed. One of the things that I really like about it, like if you've never played a farming sim like Stardew Valley, it's a cozy game where you're just going around and creating a farm and meeting the townsfolk and, you know, developing relationships with the townsfolk and getting to know the town and helping grow the town and stuff like that. And they just did a good job with it. And
Shocking.
so, but it's just worked really well. And I wasn't expecting it to, because like I loved Stardew Valley, and so many other farming sims I've played just haven't really lived up to it. This one, it feels like they've actually taken Stardew Valley and then found what makes it good and said, okay, we are going to polish the crap out of these. And so like one of the funnest parts of it is just the dialogue with the characters. And I've played through almost a full year within the game, and I've come across repeat dialogue just a handful of times.
Sort of like what that's one of the things I've enjoyed about Hades as a series.
Is what?
Is that, you know, you keep playing the game and it's like, wow, the dialogue isn't repeating.
Yes, exactly. And it's just amazing. And so the characters actually feel engaging and kind of fleshed out. The characters have relationships with each other that you kind of can see from, you know, like instead of just talking to people and they'll say one or two things to you, you can come upon them and they'll be having conversations, and you talk to them and you hear the whole conversation and you're like, oh, there are relationships within the game. It's really cool. And like it's just very well developed, and it doesn't feel as flat as a lot of these other games do. Like you can tell they found what they liked and they said, okay, we're not going to change any of this from Stardew Valley because it works. It works well. We don't need to change that because it's what it needs to be.
There's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. And then and it won't be, we're going to take this thing that isn't as good as it can be, and they'll either change it entirely or they'll enhance it. And so it's just like, let's just take this game that is clearly beloved and has set a standard and level it up rather than just remix it in our own image, you know?
Right. No, totally cool.
So, and yeah.
Well, then I was going to ask, just because I see it here, Stardew Valley's also on the list. Who put that there?
I did, because I've played it a bit with the new updates that are out, just to play some more of that. And also, I mean, it's funny, part of the reason why I bought Fields of Mystria is because for my first attempt at doing, game development, I want to do a Harvest Moon clone,
Sort of
And
like
so seeing
Concerned Ape did when he created Stardew Valley.
exactly. I mean, that's how he created Stardew Valley. He's like, well, I want to learn to make a game, and I kind of feel like making a, kind of a Harvest Moon style game, and and he just started.
He started off trying to
duplicating
duplicate Harvest Moon.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what I need to do, because I do have like an idea I want to flesh out, but I need stepping stones first. And so I kind of need to just make some, simpler versions of games. So, I mean, obviously, my first attempt won't be anything fleshed out, and unless I take the Concerned Ape route where, it starts out unfleshed and then you start, instead of
You keep
making
putting
a new
flesh
game,
on
you
it.
just
You
just
keep polishing
building
and
it.
polishing until,
Yeah.
oh, hey, this took on a life of its own.
So yeah, I'm interested in it, and yeah, that's why I put Stardew Valley in the list, because I kind of wanted to revisit it a bit and see what some of the new updates have been, because he's continued to add stuff to it as well.
Yep. Well, the thing that I thought was interesting regarding Stardew Valley is one of the most popular mods for Stardew Valley is called Stardew Valley Expanded. And apparently the guy who did it, I think it's a guy. Anyway, his name's Flash Shifter. And he is now working directly with Concerned Ape on other stuff.
Interesting.
Well, that's sort of the dream there. Just level up until you're the developer.
Providing you have that skill set and you're interested in doing that type
But
of
like
thing.
with him, what he did is he started with the mod of this game and was polishing something that was already there and ended up making something equally as beloved.
That's great. And it's great that he got the developers' attention. It's now working with them, because it's like there's nothing better as a fan than like saying it's like, oh hey, this is a worthwhile addition to my existing work. Why don't you come over and do more of that?
Senpai noticed me.
Senpai noticed me.
That's the reason that's a meme.
So I was also going to say, while we were on the early access thing, there is actually an early access game which I purchased, which I don't really do a whole lot, which was my second most played game at 19%.
Wow.
And that was Against the Storm. Now,
I've never even heard of this one.
I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on this stream, but Against the Storm is, I'm trying to think of, it's a city builder,
roguelike,
which is kind of roguelike. And the basic concept of it is that there was this great disaster in that everyone lives in a city that is on a volcano. And the world goes through cycles where it reclaims all of the land up into this mountain and then goes away. And then when the reclaiming happens, you go out and you try to build a city. And you try to build a city out to a seal and then unseal that seal, which makes the cycle longer. And then you keep going. There are various difficulties to it, and the further you get from the central city, the less that the easier difficulties become available to you. So if you want to, when you start having to venture out and get some of these seals, like, you don't have the choice to go at beginner anymore. You don't have the choice to do the next level up anymore. Like, you can slide the difficulty up and down as you go, but the lower difficulties start dropping off the further away you get. And depending on where you are, there's some relics of some old stuff, which will give you some bonuses or give you some interesting challenges as you're building things. The Monarch, because you've got 2 meters at the bottom, and 1 meter is the impatience of the crown, because you're commissioned by the crown to go out and do this. And every city that you go in and you do, you have to beat that. And there are certain things you can do to bring that down, or there are certain things you can slow it, and some things that you do may make that faster. And then you're trying to fill your meter, which basically you get, which basically not only is, your progress towards winning, but at certain points it gives you some various upgrades that you can do. And you start with like buildings. There's 5 races to start off with. With the recent Keepers of the Flame, there's a 6th race now that's been added on to that. Whenever you start a city, you have a total of 3 races that you can get. Each races have their own good things that they're doing. You start off with, you have a bunch of basic like resource stuff that you can get for free. And you have certain city buildings and stuff, and there's a warehouse that's always there, and there's a hearth. As you can see, the little turtle thing right there, that has the flame that keeps your society going. If that flame goes out, you don't have a lot of time. You got to get it back going, or it's game over for that city. And you go through,
Which is a
and
bummer.
you try and cut down the trees around you to open up the areas. Some areas have nothing on it. Some areas have that little skull guy over there. Some areas have a little bit scarier of a skull guy. And in those areas are certain events that you can dedicate some of your workers to. You build certain buildings that will do things or something. Like there's a trapper's camp if you want to like go and get some, if you have a resource to get some meat or harvest some kind of fur or something like that. Various camps, you need the woodcutters to cut the tree. Those are probably the most important things that you get. You have to build housing for all of your workers, because if they're getting rained on, and there's always a season in every year where it rains constantly, and you have unhappy workers, they will leave you, and that can cause a bind. And as you get things, you'll see, like if in the video that you're seeing right here in front of us, there's on the lower. On the little edge of the blue thing, there's a little crown with a 3 next to it. Those are buildings that you can choose from, and you pull it up, and it's like, all right, here are the 4 buildings you can choose from for this one. It tells you what each of them make, or what each of them do, and you decide which one you want to do. And you balance the likes of your workers, getting production out of the things, gathering resources, creating more complex resources to make foods and clothes and boots and stuff. Housing, there's general housing, there's housing that's specific to certain races. There's also a rain punk thing to it. You can get rain collectors that will then, that you can then use to up the production of your stuff. And it's a very slow kind of, you can go at your own pace. As you can see, there's like a little counter where you can just play, or you can go at 1.5 times, or times 2, or times 3. If you want to try and speed through. And it's a very kind of, all right, how am I going to plan this? How am I going to do this? You have to, the crown will send you some orders sometimes. Hey, we need you to do this, that, and the other, in which you can fulfill to fill your blue bar. Some of them is give them stuff. Some of them is open up areas. Some of it is do the certain event. When you open up the glades, which are what all of the areas are, there are events there, and some of the events are just you get a resource from it, and some of the events are it'll give you some stuff towards the crown, which fills your meter. And once you fill the blue meter, you get a, hey, you did a good job. The city is thriving and can go on its own. Go make another city. And you do that until the cycle ends, or you get to a seal and you unseal it, and that within itself has its own mechanics in it.
That's some interesting world building for a city builder.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I can just throw this on mindlessly while something else is playing, and I can just do this while I'm doing other things that I'm doing, and I can just play one game, or even in the middle of the game if something happens, like, all right, I'm leaving right now, and then I'll just save right where I am. I don't have to worry about a save point or any event or anything like that. All right, this is where I am. I got to leave right now. Come back. Let me boot it back up right there. What was I doing? All right, I was doing this. Go ahead and do that.
Nice.
So, like, you know, I got it because it was early access, which I was like, yeah. But I was looking for like a little chill game that I could like throw onto my I could either throw onto my to my computer or my Steam Deck and just kind of chill play it. And I end up playing this a lot. I've played it a few times while we've been doing this podcast. I'm not playing it right now, but like again, it was my second most played game of 2024.
Nice. So
I think
I've got a
$25.
So I've got a question, and I don't know if this is something we want to talk about or not. Were there any games you played this year that you just ended up being kind of disappointed in?
Ooh.
Because I have one.
Yes, but I kind of should have known better.
Oh?
And
Yeah. It was
Gotham Knights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's on you.
I mean, it was on me.
That's
but
very
again,
much on you.
it was on me, but I was just again. This was kind of like I'd really like a beat 'em up. Oh, Gotham Knights is $10.
Okay.
Well, if
get
I don't
it.
like it, it's $10. Like
I get that.
let's go. Like, you know, it's like sitting there, and I played.
It was
and-
one I was hopeful for in the very first trailer, and then as soon as like the more modern gameplay trailer came out, I'm like, oh.
I mean, it
no.
wasn't Kill the Suicide Squad bad, but I mean, like, it was. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to tell you that it was awful, but it could have been so much more. It really could have been so much more. And you know, I threw this on here because I spent a good 2 months on this, and it was in my top 5. So, what was I thinking? But yeah, like this was just like it was disappointing. I kind of knew going into it was going to be disappointing, but it was $10 on sale, and I wanted to beat things up in armored tights. And
I want to beat people up right now. Oh, it's for Baggins. Sorry.
We don't have to continue with that, but along the lines, yeah, this would be my answer to Baggins' question.
No, I appreciated that, but I was up filling up a cup of herbal tea.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Yeah.
No, mine was one that I had actually been waiting on for several years.
Oh,
It was
the worst.
You have no idea, because my favorite series of all time, I've talked about it a couple times on here, I think, is Suikoden.
I did pick this game up this year, but yeah, I've been
And in the year 2000, I believe it was, or not 2000, 2020, I believe it was, there was a Kickstarter for a game from the original team. So the last game that came out in this series was Suikoden 5, which, let me check. That was in 2006. So I have wanted more in this series forever. But then the entire team basically left Konami. Konami kind of basically turned the series into a theme for pachinko machines and just...
What? Konami? No.
Oh yeah. But anyway, in 2020...
You're so good at not doing that.
The guy who created the series and a lot of his original team, not all of his original team, but just several key members, came together and did a Kickstarter for what is essentially a spiritual successor. And it's called Ayuden Chronicle. And
I think you might have ranted about this one in a previous one now that you've said that.
Oh, really? I was so excited about this game. I was just waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And then, like 3 weeks before the game came out, Moriyama, the guy who created the series, passed away suddenly. Not suddenly, but suddenly enough. And then the game came out, and I played it, and I was just it's not that it was just a bad game. It was almost good.
Well, that and like the translation was also pretty bad too.
Yeah, the translation was rough. They had all sorts of issues with the translation. It just was not as good as it could have been. But but the game itself, it was almost good.
In some ways, that's worse.
Exactly. Because there was so much, you're like, okay, they took so many things that were great and polished them, but they just didn't hit what I wanted it to be. What it could have been.
See where the game was almost there.
Well, it was also one of those things. The original games were made by scrappy companies. They were by companies that were playing by the skin of their teeth, and they put stuff in because they'd figured it out along the way and said, hey, this is really neat. Let's add it. And This was a game that it was just an insanely successful Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had money coming out their ears, and it just felt like because they had money coming out their ears, that bit of desperation that leads to greatness sometimes in games wasn't there. And so it didn't feel like, like when you have a story you want to tell and you are trying to figure out any way you can to tell it, it's like, and the only reason that you're going through so much crap to get there is because, my gosh, this is an amazing story.
Sometimes the fear of failure is a great motivator.
Motivator
for success.
It's a motivator for success. It's a motivator to polish something and to knock the rough edges off and to just put it through. And unfortunately,
also to take risks.
Yes, and again, and that's what it felt safe. It felt too safe, and so it's just like, oh, it was almost good. It wasn't quite there. And the other thing is when you got, like, it felt like the momentum at the end of the game, like you got to a certain point and then they just decided, okay, the story's done. Now you got to go fight the final boss. And it's like, well, wait, what? How do we get from point H to point Z? Like, you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Z. And it just sort of felt off. I was so sad because there were aspects of this game that I absolutely loved. I really, really did. But but as a whole for a game, it just didn't make it. And it's the idea of that I can't say I hate the game. I was just disappointed.
No, it's one of those things where it's like it almost hit escape velocity. It just didn't quite get there.
Exactly. And so it felt like there were a lot of amazing ideas, and then there were some decent ideas. And the decent ideas, they absolutely nailed it on. And the amazing ideas, it felt like they gave it to the intern to finish off. And it's just like, why? This could have been amazing. Why? And I don't know. It just made me sad.
I can get that.
And there have been deals.
Going to be Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. And there have been DLCs for it that hopefully fix a few things, but it also makes me sad that this was, Murayama's final piece, and I feel like he deserved better.
No, I mean, that's unfortunate, but don't they all, in the end, deserve a little better? Most developers, the scrappy, cool ones. Not you, EA. You don't deserve better, or you, Konami, or Ubisoft. You don't deserve better either.
All of them were great when they were scrappy little developers, but they're not anymore.
Yep.
That's the problem. They get these big companies that buy them, and then they have flush with cash, and they don't take risks anymore, and they just make it safe.
Well, and it's all
you hated,
but it's also the problem of as these teams get bigger and bigger and bigger, things by necessity have to be made more and more by committee, and so there's less of one person who's pushing forward a creative vision with a bunch, with a team, and it's, All right, what'd your department do? Is that really fitting with our, vision of the monetization model?
Uh-huh.
Is that, and
But
you have
that's
so
why
many people that have a say.
that's why games like Cave Story and Undertale and Stardew Valley are just brilliant.
This is such a great segue for my next game, but keep going.
Breakfast mentioned Dust and Elysian Tale. Just these games that are just passion projects for one person or a very, very small team that are able to keep it focused. But, once you get to these huge teams or companies or whatever, it's like you're designing by committee, and nothing destroys creativity like that.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of it, it's also the idea of, like, take something like Balatro. Like, if you tried to pitch something like Balatro to a company, they would sit there and just be like, you want to make a poker roguelike. What are you talking about? And it's the same thing with Stardew Valley. You'd be like, you're trying to make a Harvest Moonlight game in this market? That doesn't make any sense. And it's being small means you can just make things that maybe are only for what you think is a niche of people who like it, but it turns out it's a lot more than you think. But because you're small and you're just doing it in your free time, or let's say you're an indie or maybe even a AA developer, you can afford to do things that no one else, like the big companies, they literally can't afford to. Like, if you're EA at, having to support, however many thousands of developers they have, you can't take a flyer on some weird game that, it's like, okay, yeah, that's nice. But if it fails, we lose the entire company. And so
that's why it frustrates me when these indie companies get bought by the big companies.
Well, and you're seeing that less and less because the indie companies are sitting on these giant stacks of money now, especially this. I mean, this is the year of the indie, and they've seen what happens to indie companies, and they just sort of, it's like, no, I mean, the Baldur's Gate 3 studio, what are they? I forget.
Larian Studios.
Larian. He just outright said, it's like, yeah, we're not looking to be acquired.
And then he just goes on to just call them out every time they win stuff at game awards. Like he just says, like, "Yep, I wear chainmail. I take care of my devs, and I take risks because I got stuff I want to make."
Yeah,
like, I mean, he said no to Hasbro money. It's like, hey, make Baldur's Gate 4. Creatively, this was fun. I was happy that I finally got to do a D&D game. I love D&D. I got other stuff I got to make, man. Sorry, bro. Like, get that to someone else.
Well, and especially because after it's been successful, Hasbro would come in here and it's like, hey, can you do this? Because that would highlight this class that we're trying to push with it. And because it's one of those things. It's the weird thing of when you're successful, suddenly the Eye of Sauron turns to you in a way that it didn't before, because, you weren't successful. This is just some weird thing. Oh, wait, you're successful now? Well, now we got to put our stamp on it because it looks good for us.
Well, also, and to make a point of the Baldur's Gate 2 thing, or the Baldur's Gate 3 thing, like, it was so wildly successful and so insanely popular that it actually, like, shifted what they were going to do with the latest edition of D&D because of some of the things that Larian did to make it more fun. Oh, yeah. Like while I don't think anything has ever been officially said, it's one of those things where, like, if you read through the player's guide and you look at some of the changes that were made, like how you use bonus actions, or just like some of the things that weapons do, having like weapon specializations were made for, hey, this is probably a mechanic that'd be a little bit more fun. And that's what Baldur's Gate did with the 5th edition rules. It's like, yeah, this rule is here, but let's make it more fun. Let's do something more fun here. Let's get some more variety of weapons out there so you can do stuff. Let's make sure that these classes really feel like, and then, and they're dropping a whole 12 more subclasses next month for Baldur's Gate. They just keep giving to us. It's amazing. But like again, like that's a property where, and Larian is the exception that proves the rule. You know, they're the indie studio that's like, nah, we're making enough money, thank you, and I'm making enough money to take care of my people, and I don't think you guys are going to do that if I sell to you. So,
Well, and that's the thing is that gamers respect that. You know, when they see them, it's like, I want to make this amazing game. We're actually going to turn down money for you. Like, okay, you've won some of my trust here.
Well, you know what? To the point of the other thing is like AAA gaming now sort of does have a stink on it. Like, I'll be 100% honest. I
100%.
had no interest really to play Marvel Rivals or Path of Exile until former and current Blizzard people started mouthing off about it. And I'm just like, okay, if this bothers you, I'm going to go check it out because you guys bother me.
Well,
It's okay. I'm going to go on a little soapbox here. It just annoys me so much about any Blizzard person being like, this is like our game. And it's like, Blizzard, your entire identity for your entire existence has been take something that's successful, put the Blizzard polish on it, smooth out the rough edges, and make the better version of the game. That's been Blizzard's entire model. The only game they quote unquote made was Diablo. Everything else is a copy of something else.
Yeah, I mean, Warcraft came into existence because they were making a Warhammer game, and then the contract fell through, and they said, okay, we're going to make this anyway, we'll just change it enough.
Yeah, and then you just go down the
City
list.
of Heroes came about too.
Yeah, well, but it's like
supposed to be a Marvel game.
I believe it.
The whole thing with like World of Warcraft, they were all playing EverQuest, and they're just like, man, what if we used the Warcraft universe and made our own EverQuest that was better? And they did that. Overwatch is entirely a copy of T-Fortress 2, and they said, all right, how do we make this more streamlined? Get people into
is Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
Heroes of the Storm is League of Legends,
that one's hilarious.
Or
just
Dota. Well,
they had
it's cyclical.
Yeah, and it's the frustration of you guys. Like, and the thing is, that's not a criticism either. Like, looking at what other people have done successfully and being like, yeah, but there's these problems. What if we did that and made it better? That's the soul of any product, like making any product. It's figure out what the pain point is, remove it, boom, you have a product.
And that's the thing, is their identity. It wasn't just take what other people have done. It was take what other people have done and make it better.
Yeah.
And like Blizzard Polish, that was a thing.
Back when they used to say, this will be done when it's done.
Yes.
And it's just so
frustrating. And then the executive said, oh, this whole Blizzard time thing, it's cutting into our profits. So stop doing that and just release it and then fix it in post.
Kind of fix it in post.
Well, fix it in post with quotation marks.
Yeah. And so it's just so frustrating to see, Blizzard people complaining about, Path of Exile and Marvel Rivals. And it's just like, you guys, like, this was your entire MO. And the real issue here is you guys are scared because, like Marvel Rivals is coming in and saying, hey, we're just going to go back to the mode that everyone else liked, 6-on-6. And we're going to make our models prettier. And we're going to, that whole thing where you showed destructible terrain in the Overwatch 2 trailer and then you never did it because it's probably hard. Yeah, we're going to do that. And it's like, we're just going to, give the people what they want. Whereas Overwatch 2 is, the big reason we're making Overwatch 2 is we want to do the single player mode. So it justifies an entirely new thing. And
then we're not going to do the single player mode.
Yeah. And so so what's the difference between Overwatch 2 and Overwatch 1? We changed the monetization model and had one less player.
Yeah. And that's why they're in trouble. They opened up the space for this to happen. They didn't have to happen, but they did.
Yeah. These companies are basically saying, okay, our new model is we're going to follow through on all the promises that Blizzard made.
Yeah.
It's an incredible business model.
It is. It's kind of interesting because it's working. Again,
imagine
Marvel
that.
Rivals, I've been trying to get Splice to play it all month. You know,
it will be happening. I have to read.
I know,
it, though.
I know, and it's cool. But I find this question, everything that we've just said, interesting about all about the the big studios and Baldur's Gate 3, because I was actually on this podcast, I want to say about 6 months ago, talking about a game that's on my list. And the thing I said about this game is that it will need to be perfect, and I'm very sorry for the famed studio that's putting it out, because I think they're one bad game away from getting canned. And this game is coming out in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world, and I don't see how they're going to win. And then they went and won, didn't they? And that is, of course, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And look, I did not have high expectations for this game. And then they showed the models, and there was all of that was going on with it. It looks like Fortnite. This isn't like the same.
I mean, it did look like Fortnite.
Artwork. I mean, it did, but I mean, like, that's... Look, I'm closer to 50 than I am 40. I am not the people that they are marketing to right now. And the Fortnites and the Apex Predators is what...
Which Apex is one that's falling off, too.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, famed studio that was scrappy and gave us great things, and BioWare. Storied franchise. Dragon Age is an amazing game and has its stands throughout everything. And this game has been in development hell for over 10 years. Like, it apparently was going to be, they were going to shove and put in some kind of like live online service to go with it. And then,
well, I mean, they tried that that was back even with Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, totally.
No, Mass Effect 3
and Mass Effect Andromeda. It totally was. And it did well enough in those games, but then it started dropping off. But I mean, the original version of this, if rumors are to be told, was going to be more live service than it was going to be a game. And
because that's the problem. They all want everything to be a live service.
Yeah, and then like live services are just dying left and right at this point. I think 10 live services died in the last month or 2 months of 2024. And so like this game, again, I did not have high hopes for it. A lot of people didn't have high hopes for it. And then it came out, and it did really well. And I think a part of that is that in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world, what do? Well, you don't try to be Baldur's Gate 3. They've kind of got that. And
well, even if they wanted to be Baldur's Gate 3, this game would be far too beyond in development to try and switch anything.
And that was one of my fears also. But like, Baldur's Gate 3 is turn-based. This is, action, RPG type thing. And, there were a lot of other things, like the storytelling is all right. I don't agree with some of the things that they've done story-wise, that if you want to get like the ending, you've got like some grindy things you got to do. But, this is an EA game, so what do you want? There's just, I do like the combat. It can get a little bit repetitive, but overall, I've very much enjoyed the character designs. The characters feel kind of fresh. I'm not like sitting here saying it's like, oh, this is this person. Oh, this is this person. Like the nostalgic characters are there for, okay, cool. This is a nostalgic character. And the not nostalgic characters, the new characters are like, oh, here's a very interesting, like kind of steampunky detective with the fake leg. And, she's kind of very attractive and interesting and swaggery. Oh, here's the necromancer that kind of looks like young Vincent Price. Here is the very Italian, but we're not calling him Italian, assassin that really likes coffee. And stuff like that. And I think this was a pleasant surprise out of the thing. I racked up quite a few hours playing this. Unfortunately, Marvel Rivals and the other game that I play on the regular, Genshin Impact, which is on this list somewhere, took
Who's
up.
Genshin Impact?
Yep, Genshin Impact, and look, this is just. I put this on here because we're talking about what we played.
Yes, and I want to ask about that because I didn't know you played this at all, and I haven't known anyone who plays these games, and I've never understood the appeal of these games. So,
you don't
please
understand
explain
the appeal. Like, this is one that I haven't played it. I don't plan on it.
What's
but
the
every
game?
time
Like, I don't know what the
I'm
game
like, dang it, I
is.
want to play it.
What's the game? I don't get
It's
it.
Mass Effect with swords.
Okay, kinda, but
I'm simplifying it to explain to Jordan.
It just doesn't look like
fine.
Mass Effect with swords to me at all.
So, this is a game that I've played. It came out in November before the pandemic, and Karina picked it up, and she's like, "You should play this game." And I had like a bunch of games on it, and so at first I was like, "No."
My understanding is a lot of
Koreans.
Koreans picked it up.
Yeah, a lot of people picked it up.
See, it's funny because you said Karina and
yeah,
I said Korea. It's funny. Anyway.
And so, I would see her playing it every now and again. It's like, oh, this looks like a anime. And then, like, I was in between games, like, about a month or two into its initial release. And, she had, nudged me again to play it. It's like, you know what? Sure. I'll pick it up. And most people play this for, like, getting stuff and pretty things. It's one of those, like, loot boxes type things. You pull to get characters.
It's a gacha game.
It's a gacha game. But I play it because it's a game that Karina and I play together, and we go through like every day, every single day.
Is there a
after work.
story to it?
Oh my god, dude! Holy crap! I just spent like 3 hours today trying to get through the story that dropped yesterday, just so that I could get to the Trounce domain, so I could start getting the new resources for the new characters that I haven't pulled yet. This story,
it sounds, the way I see it, it looks sort of like an MMO to me, the way it plays.
The way I've looked at it, it's like, it feels like Dragon Age and Mass Effect are like Fallout and Elder Scrolls.
okay.
Like
So
they kind of fill similar niches for those two companies.
So I'm going to try and give you the quick and dirty version of this as fast as possible, to not take up some time. So you are probably a heavenly agent that was fighting some kind of thing. You and your sister, or if you chose the female model, your brother, and you were promptly in the middle of this battle expelled from heaven and kicked to the world of Trevit, which is the world that this takes place on. You awaken with a floating weirdo named Pieman that kind of goes around you and kind of acts as, like, I guess, a narrator. She kind of asks the questions so that you can, and sometimes will voice the things, because even though, Artur or Lumina, which are the names of the male and female characters, depending on which one that you pick, respectively, don't really talk a lot, but they do have voice actors and they do say things here and there. But going past that, and you are basically trying to figure out what happened, because sometime in the ancient past, this ancient civilization basically just lost its mind and fell into the abyss, and now they're trying to do things. You're running into things like this thing right here, like ancient guardians that are like mechanical that come to life when you get near them and attack everything.
I mean,
and they're
like,
all wigged out.
That sounds more like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there, and then you have
Breath
like
of the Wild's what I hear it compared to the most often.
and a lot of the enemies kind of get that kind of feel, and basically there's like the 7 elements of the world, which some people can channel. They have spirits. It's not called that. It's called something else. But they have basically a thing which is like this little marker that that awakens and appears on them with one of the elements on it, and they can control that element. And it's pyro, fire, hydro, water, cryo, ice,
Nice.
lightning, electro, lightning, dendro, wood, amino, air, and geo, rock, earth. And you go through, and there's like the 7 archons, which, you know, are also the 7 nations, and each nation is based in something. And little by little, you start off in Mondstadt, which is the Wind Nation, where you meet like the archon, who is basically the god,
Aang.
Venti, who is a bard that drinks a lot. And then from there, you help him like heal a
Coffee
dragon.
a lot?
And then
I would
you
expect that with the name Venti.
Yeah, he is not a very good bard, but he is a god. So, and yeah, there's archons of each thing, and you go here, and you have a bunch of characters which you can get, and they all have different play styles. You have 5 main weapons that each character has a weapon which they use: bow, sword, claymore, focus, and so what I'm missing, spear. You've got your 4 stars, which are your everyday characters. You've got your 5 stars, which is the rare pull. You can build them up, and you can level them in a whole bunch of ways, customize them with better weapons, with 5 artifacts, etc., stats. And as you progress through the world, so like recently, the last 6 months have been Natland, which is the fire area, and they just basically dropped the last part of the Natland story yesterday.
So it sounds like the storylines are delivered sort of in an MMO style. The gameplay sort of looks like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, like there's the
it just seems like a hodgepodge of all sorts of things.
There's the main world story, and then you can unlock character stories, which you don't unlock through doing the world stuff. You unlock them through doing either prerequisites or taking a key and like, I would like to do your story, please. Let me go ahead and do that. And you have to be kind of careful because the game is kind of weird sometimes, because it's like sitting there's like, okay, you're doing the story. All right, you can't do the story anymore. Why? Because this character's over here. Well, can they just be over here? Can I just have them over here? No, you got to go do that story over there before we can have the character over here, because they're over there. Okay, I'll go do the other quest that I don't want to go do. And then there's events that come up where you can get like limited weapons and stuff like that, and But I mean, like pretty much like for me and Karina, like ever since I picked it up, like it is one of our daily drivers. As soon as I get off of work, all right, we doing Genshin today? And that's almost always yes, unless one of us is feeling real bad. And it's like, all right, let's do our dailies. All right, we've done our dailies. What are we doing with our primogems today? All right, we're gonna go condense them, and we're gonna go do domains. What do we need? Do we need talent books? Do we need weapon modifiers, or do we need artifacts? Who do we need it for? All right, we're gonna go to this. Let's go do this. All right, cool, and we're out. Unless like today, where I had extra time because I had to work today, and then I got off at 11:30 and I had stuff. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go do all the story stuff so I can open up the last part of this world, and I can just be done with it. And if I want to do the extra stuff, I do. Yeah. Like I've got so many character things to do, but I'm just like, no. And they have a card game aspect to it, which is just like, no, I don't need to have a card game on top of all of this. They have a dating sim, which isn't really a dating sim. It's a friend sim where you can just go hang out with characters, and there's other stories there. It's like, oh, this feels kind of icky in some ways. And also, no, if I want to play a dating sim, I'll go play a dating sim. Like, this game really tries to be every game. It doesn't want to just be one game. It wants to be all the games. And it wants you to play it because it's all the games. So go play it. It's all the games.
Well, that at least solves that mystery for me, because I've never understood what these games were.
It's a gacha. It's an MMO. It's a card game. It's a dating sim. It's a long form story RPG. It's a co-op RPG. Sometimes it's a mini game generator. There's a slot machine. That's how you pull the characters. But it's not like slot machine. But that's what you call boxes are slot machines.
All gambling is on some level. All right.
But yeah, and I pay into it because I am an adult. And I suppose this is the point where I should also say for anyone listening that while I am an adult and Karina are adults and we pay into this game and we're perfectly fine with it, I would never let my kids play this game because of how monetized it is.
Yeah, the monetization's a big reason why I haven't touched it, but my goodness.
100%.
Every time I see like a commercial and I don't know what the game is, or like an ad, or I turn on my PlayStation and it's like, oh, here's a new thing, and I'm like, ooh, it looks pretty. What is it? 9 times out of 10, it's Genshin Impact. I'm like, gosh, dang it.
Oh, and they were so successful with this that
They
the
have
two
like
games
9 of them
that
now,
they-
don't they?
Oh yeah, and they're just like they have Hokage Skyrail, which is just Genshin Impact in space. Literally, you just go around in a space train to different places. It's the same mechanic. It's the same everything. There's a couple of little different things, but it's like, all right, what do we want to put in this game that we didn't put in Genshin Impact yet? All right, let's see how everyone likes it. Oh, everyone likes it. Let's go put it in Genshin Impact. Cool. And then there's
Endless Zone Zero, the game I'm obsessed with the title of just because I like saying it.
And it was awful. And it's like, okay, I got into Skyrail for a little bit, but it's like, I don't need another Genshin game in my life. I've got Genshin. I got OG flavored Genshin. I don't need Baja Blast Genshin. And then, Zenless Zoneless came out. It's like, yeah, I don't need Pitch Black Genshin either. Thank you. Also, can we put some more clothes on some of these characters? Because
I need more gamer fuel.
But yeah, generally it's trying to be the all game.
Everyone trying to be the all game. All right. Well, it's pretty late, and I have to wake up early tomorrow. So let's get wrapped up. Lunisar, do you have anything you'd like to promote?
I guess if anything, I will just promote. Well, one of the games I put on here just really quick. It's called Crypto Against All Odds, and it's a tower defense where you play as cryptocurrencies.
What?
The thing I like
sorry,
about it.
Did you have a stroke just now?
But the thing I like about
a stroke of genius
is I found out about it because it was from someone who was taking the same game development classes. Was the one that he wanted to make a tower.
This isn't
defense.
an NFT game, right?
Well, I mean,
why are you pausing?
No? Oh, yeah.
It's a game about cryptocurrency. So I mean,
I'm asking, is this a game where you're like earning crypto or something?
Like real crypto?
No, just in-game currencies. That's no different from whatever currency.
Okay, see,
game.
you just worry me with the way you were saying this. It's like, are you in like some sort of scam? Do we need to send help?
But
we were getting towards the splice trying to break you and your wife up area.
It's not.
That happened on
I wouldn't
accident.
say it's an amazing game. It's more. I just like it because it's some indie person who was taking the same class as I took, made a game and published it, and so I thought that was just kind of a cool thing. So
And what was it called again?
Crypto Against All Odds.
Okay, and it didn't ask for any banking information, right?
No.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
It didn't.
Did you have to submit a blood sample?
But you when you do missions, tower defense missions in the game, you earn bitcoins. They're not real bitcoins. They're just in-game bitcoins.
That's disappointing.
Oh man, if they were real bitcoins, holy cow! But
it's like I'd be wondering what the monetization
it's not real
model
fake
is.
money. It's fake money.
All money is fake money. Anyway, Kamizite, would you like to promote anything?
Why, yes, I will go ahead and since I've mentioned her quite a bit on the podcast tonight, I will go ahead and I will mention my fabulous partner Karina J. Is Reading Entangled Enemies. It was for a contest, which hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to find out if where she placed in all of that, and hopefully in the top 5. But if you're looking for something to read, follow the link that I have put into the self-promotion portion of this Splice stream. She's worked really hard on it. She's tried to update it, but the holiday slog has kind of hit all over. She's going to get back in the swing of things soon. But she's put a lot of time into it. You guys have helped out tremendously with just getting her as far as she's gotten. And check it out.
Baggins.
The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is a podcast that Splice and I are both on, where we're talking about Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. Our most recent episode, we actually talked about the latest State of the Sanderson, which is Brandon Sanderson's annual post where he kind of lets us know what happened over the last year and what to expect over the next. You should definitely check it out, though. Yeah.
And you all can find me at twitch.tv/splicestream, where I regularly post. We're going to be probably doing some Path of Exile. I don't know. We're trying to figure out what we're going to be doing more dedicated into the next couple weeks. But regardless, you should come check it out. It's great.
And with this stream, 2024 is over. Leveled.